Hello everyone, welcome to week 6. Hope everything's going well for you. Um, Great discussion last week. The board was nice and full, so that is great. Thank you guys all for participating. The discussions are going to start to taper off as we get into the later weeks of the class, but the coffee chat is always there. I think it's called coffee chat in this class. I don't remember. Anyway, the non-assignment board where you can just discuss ideas or whatever, that's always there. So feel free to put any questions or thoughts or whatever you have in that space. But definitely continue the discussions. You guys are having great discussions, and that's exactly what this class is for, right? That's how an online forum works. So a great week 5. So let's head into week 6. I told you last week we're starting into the management portion. That is near and dear to my heart. That is what I have studied. That is what I do. That is who I consider myself to be. So I love to be in the management and leadership space, and it's an important topic, and I think one, honestly, that's not covered enough. I mean, three chapters is not enough. I did my master's studies in management, so obviously I've studied much more, but I think it's important if you want to be in a leadership role. And leadership doesn't just mean title. Manager normally means title, right? You have the title of manager and you have the responsibility of being a manager, but that's not what leader really means. And the book doesn't differentiate enough, in my opinion. I think there's a much greater differentiation between a manager and a leader. To me, management is the science, right? It's the spreadsheets, it's the budgeting, it's the processes, it's the decision making, it's the science part of it. It's things that can be managed in spreadsheet form is how I always consider it. And then leadership is the art. Leadership is the people. Leadership is people wanting to follow you as a leader. And that's the hard part. And that's, some people are born with it, right? There are natural leaders, and that's just part of their personality. It's part of who they are. It's part of how they think. But you can study to be a leader also, and there's different types of leadership, and they do talk about a few in the book, and we'll talk about them in a minute. There's more. There's a lot more in leadership. In and of itself is a huge topic to discuss. So there's much more out there, and I would encourage you to, if that's the way you want to go. And I know you're very early in your studies, very early in your career probably, so maybe you're not quite ready yet, but I would encourage you to start reading about leadership and different types of leadership style and different things that you can do to make yourself a leader even without a title. Leading without a title is a big thing. We have at my company, obviously you can be a people manager or a people leader, but you can also be an independent leader. So you don't have the responsibility of taking care of other people in the organization, but you're still considered a leader. You're still considered someone in a controlling position. So, you don't have to lead people. I mean, you don't have to have people report to you and be responsible for them to be in a leadership position. So even if you don't plan to be a people leader, it's great things to know. And I did pull out a couple books from my library that I think might be good places for you to start. So this one is called The New Leader's 100-Day Action Plan. Hopefully that's not backwards for you. Hopefully you can read it. If not, it's called The New Leader's 100-Day Action Plan. The authors are Bratt, Check, and Lawler. And it's fairly new, I think, from the 2000s. 2016, so it's fairly new. And it's about getting a leadership role and how to set yourself up for success and how to get the right role for you, and how to start your relationships. And then it gets into some of the things that the book talks about, right? The planning, organizing, leading, controlling. It's in there, and it's a way to get started if you're new in a leadership role. And I think it's a very good read if you're so interested. The second is called Team of Teams, New Rules of Engagement for a Complex World. It's by a U.S. Army retired general, General Stanley McChrystal. I've actually heard him speak, and this is his passion, right? Being being a team player, leading in a team environment. He's a fantastic speaker. He did these kind of things in the Army, and now he's taken it. He's a private citizen now, and well retired, but private citizen now, and he does consulting work at different organizations, and he's very passionate about teamwork and leadership and the way a leader should work as part of a team. And this is a fantastic read if you get the chance. And lastly, as you know, as you can see from my pictures back here, I'm a huge Disney fan. So I personally connected with Bob Iger's book called The Ride of a Lifetime, Lessons Learned from 15 Years as the CEO of Walt Disney Company. And Bob has some great tips in here. He goes through I think there's 12 here, his 12 rules of leadership: optimism, courage, focus, decisiveness, curiosity, fairness, thoughtfulness, and integrity. That's not 12. 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm sorry, 8. Thoughtfulness and integrity. And it's a really good read also if you're so interested. And if these don't tickle your fancy, there's millions of leadership books out there. Nothing by the Kardashians, please. They don't. That's not. Don't go that way. But there's plenty of leadership books out there. Stephen Covey has been writing leadership books for years. He's known in that industry. I think the one he's probably most famous for is Effective Strategies for Effective People, something like that. How to Make Friends and Influence People is one of his. And then Effective Strategies for Effective People, I think is what it's called, something like that. So he's well known, but look some stuff up if you're in the mood. Have that as your bedside table book. And I will tell you, if you get into the corporate world or the business world and start moving your way up, people expect you to be reading business books. They will talk about if you're having lunch with someone or something, they'll say, oh, I'm reading whatever by this person, and they expect you to have a clue of what they're talking about. So not a requirement, but just as a heads up, as you start moving into that world, people will expect that you're reading, you're furthering your education, even if you're not in college anymore. So all good stuff. Let's talk about the book a little bit. Obviously, management is a process of coordinating people and resources. 4 basic functions are planning, organizing, leading, motivating, and controlling. You can read about all those. They talk about SWOT analysis to determine where your strengths and weaknesses are. I've done those many times. There's many different forms. The one they have in the book is great, but there's plenty of other forms. They talk about various kinds of managers. They really only talk about top-level managers and first-line managers. In my world, we would call those executive or senior leaders. And I don't know what we call the others. Mid-level leaders, I guess. So I'm a director, so I'm a mid-level leader. My boss is a mid-level leader. He's a staff VP. And then above him starts executive or senior leadership. He reports to a vice president who reports to our chief administration officer, who reports to our chief executive officer. So once you get into the chiefs, they call those the C-suites. So you got C-suites and then executive level and then mid-level. And frontline, I guess frontline too. We do have like supervisors who are over the call center and stuff. So that would be first line managers. And every company is organized differently, so not everyone's going to go that way. Some people have regional VPs or like state VPs, or there's all kinds of other things in there too. So it doesn't necessarily go in that form. It just depends on the company that you're at. They talk about successful skills for managers, conceptual skills, analytical skills, technical skills, communication skills. All those are important. I would still contend that communication is more leadership than management. And to me, like I said, they're 2 separate things. There is one little blurb about leadership. Not enough. There needs to be a lot more. Autocratic leaders, participative leaders, I missed a syllable there. Participative leaders and entrepreneurial leaders. There's a lot more. There's servant leaders. There's I can't think of the other ones, but there's a lot more. So find some books on leadership. You can even go on Pinterest. There's tons of stuff even on Pinterest or social media about different leadership styles and how they, how they work, and you can find what fits you. Autocratic leadership is really, in most corporation type settings, autocratic leadership is not really the way to go anymore. People don't like to be told what to do. They like to be a part of things and help with decisions, and have their leaders be participative, not autocratic. They don't want you to tell them what to do. There are situations where, of course, you have to, but as an overall function, that's not what they want. That's not what they prefer. They talk about the managerial decision-making process and TQM, total quality management. And of course, you can read about all those. TQM is a big part. It's not really management. I mean, it is. It's a management process, but it's not necessarily a management person. It's a process that has managers that are part of it. So, I mean, all good stuff. I definitely would encourage you to read on your own, to to learn more on your own, and being a confident leader that people want to follow, whether you have technical skills, whether you can, I'm not technical at all. Like, I don't, computers, I mean, I use them, obviously, but it's not my thing. Like, it's not, my team talks about, like, SQL queries and doing this and putting this in a database, and I'm like, go, do what you do. My job as a leader is not to know all the technical things. It's not to do their jobs for them. I'm not an autocratic leader. That's not the role that I want. My job is to enable them to be able to do their jobs. So to give them the tools to do what they need to do, because they are a technical team, and that's great, and they know how to do it. And I can speak to their work, but I can't do it. So my job is to make sure they can do their job. That's my role as a leader. So I funnel them the information they need. I get them the tools that they need, and I include them in the decisions. I'm not real big on the term servant leader, but I think that's kind of what I am. A servant leader means your role as a leader is to serve your team. And that's what I do. I serve my team and make sure that they can do the job that they need to do. So definitely find some books, read up about leadership. I'll talk about it more over the next couple weeks. As you can tell, it is my passion. It's what I want to talk about. So we will talk about it more over the next couple weeks. But as always, if you have questions, concerns, issues, definitely message me, and we can work through them. But I'm glad you're still here. Glad you're still chugging along. If you need anything, let me know, and I will talk to you again next week. Thanks.